What is going on, guys? Welcome to another video on my channel, Hairliciously. If you guys are new, please make sure to hit that subscribe button so that you guys are updated on my second hair transplant journey progress. I'm about to hit my 11-month mark and I will give you guys an update later this week. But if you guys can just take a look at the amazing hairline design and the density, I'm just so happy that I got my procedure done and it just looks amazing. So stay tuned for that video. Visit my website at hairliciously.com to purchase your microneedling devices, which are scientifically proven to stimulate hair growth. My low-level laser big cap, hair growth supplements, the HVAC shampoo and serum, and a few other products for those who are suffering from hair loss. Like I said, if you guys are interested in reaching out to the clinic that I went to get my procedure done, Motion Clinic in South Korea, I'm gonna have all of their contact information below. You guys can actually find out how many grafts that you guys might need on an estimate, the cost, and also work on the hairline design and all that good stuff. So if you guys are interested, make sure to reach them out via email, and the contact information is going to be in the description box below. So in today's video topic, I actually wanted to discuss a specialized surgical procedure, something known as scalp advancement or forehead lowering, or commonly known as scalp reduction surgery. Some of you probably have heard this and seen what this treatment is about, and this treatment is actually typically more popular amongst female patients who have high hairlines, and they're very self-conscious because having a high hairline can create a masculine appearance, and people typically associate high foreheads as an undesirable phenotype. So they're seeking a quick method to reduce the overall size of their foreheads with this procedure. And this procedure used to be pretty popular, a popular method of treating baldness back in the 1960s to the 1980s, but it slowly died out because the introduction of an FUT and FU hair transplantation just kind of took over. And it's also not commonly performed today, but there are still women and men who opt for this treatment as the results are going to be instantaneous, whereas a hair transplant can take upwards to a year or even longer to see the final results of hair growth. Basically, in a nutshell, a scalp reduction surgery can lower the hairline as much as an inch or two or even more just through a single procedure. And this is all going to be dependent on the mobility and the laxity of the scalp. If a person has a very loose scalp, he or she is going to be able to lower the hairline more than somebody who doesn't have lax scalp, because you basically have to have excess skin that you can play around with. Without laxity of the scalp, this procedure wouldn't be possible, since there wouldn't be any room to bring down the scalp flap, and you would have to end up having to go with the hair transplantation route, typically an FUE, since an FUT also requires some form of scalp laxity, since they do have to remove a strip of flesh in the back of the donor zone. The procedure involves making this wavy horizontal incision on the hairline, and it's actually going to be brought forward and secured using these dissolvable surgical clips to hold the new hairline in place in the anterior position. And then we have the excess foreskin, which is going to be, or not the excess forehead skin, which is going to be excised as much as an inch or more, and the incision is going to be closed off, leaving a very fine scar, which is designed so that hairs are going to go through it. Now, this incision is a special technique known as the trichophilic incision, which is commonly performed during a brow lift, and this is designed to disguise the scars and create a more natural looking result on the hairline. The procedure can take anywhere from 90 minutes upwards to 2-3 hours. Recovery time is very minimal, about a week. And the best thing, like I said, about this surgery is that the results of the hairline lowering is going to be instantaneous. There is going to be a huge aesthetic appearance improvement from lowering the hairline, as you guys can tell from some of these photos here. And it helps not only reduce the size of the forehead, but it creates a more symmetrical appearance and also makes the overall face smaller and more attractive. Now, earlier I did mention that this procedure is generally ideal for women than men, because most women do not have to suffer from androgenic alopecia like men do. So even if they were to receive the scalp reduction surgery, women likely don't have to worry about future progression of hair loss unless it typically runs in the family. Men are not going to be usually good candidates if they're suffering from genetic hair loss. Due to the high possibility of further recession, you'll continue to recede on the temples and the hairline, and more than likely going to be left with an exposed wavy scar across your forehead. And the only way to fix that is to disguise that through a hair transplant by implanting more grafts in there. However, if you guys are a good responder to long-term hair loss medications such as finasteride or dutasteride, and over the years you realize that you haven't receded and was able to stabilize hair loss, or maybe you don't have any form of hair loss at all, you just want to lower your hairline, this may be another option to lower the hairline and use far fewer grafts if you're also deciding on supplementing either the density with a hair transplantation. This would be beneficial for men who are typically in over 3 or under, and I've actually seen some men who even receive scalp reduction surgery on their crowns to minimize the balding whorl section by removing a strip of skin on their whorl to pretty much excise the bald areas. The good thing about this procedure, assuming that you are going to be a good candidate, is that you get to retain the original density of your original hairline, whether that's a good or a bad thing, depending on how much density you have. That is just brought by lowering, and you get results immediately without having to, like I said, wait a whole year through a hair transplant. In terms of density, a hair transplant is not even going to come close to the density of that through a scalp reduction surgery of your native scalp, since you're literally retaining the same hairline that you have. Also, if you're able to stabilize hair loss, dropping down a full inch can usually save you anywhere from 2,000 to 4,000 even more hair grafts that you wouldn't have to waste through a hair transplant. So to give you guys an example, in my case, I had 2 FUE procedures solely focused on the hairline and also the temples to bring it down about 2 to 2.5 centimeters, which is about an inch. And I think I spent close to 3,500 grafts. So imagine how much future hair grafts that you guys are going to be able to save at a much affordable price, since scalp reduction surgery is typically cheaper than a hair transplant in general. There's a lot of transgender women who undergo this procedure. They are, obviously biologically male, but they are typically on estrogen supplements or spironolactone therapy to reduce and reverse previous effects of androgen on the scalp. They often get this procedure done, and they generally see some pretty good results as long as they continue to inhibit the androgens and suppress testosterone to normal female levels. But like I said, at the end of the day, this procedure is typically reserved for those who show no signs of baldness and simply want to reduce a larger forehead. I would instead recommend a hair transplant for those who are looking for ways to lower the hairline, especially if you're genetically prone to androgenic alopecia, as the grafts that are extracted and implanted are for the most part permanent, since they are taken from the DHT resistant zone. So a hair transplant for the most part would be a more permanent solution than a scalp reduction procedure. You obviously still need to slow down further hair loss in the native areas through treatment, but it's not like a scalp reduction surgery that can continue to recede over time if proper and timely intervention is not done. I will say that it is great for those who are great responders to hair loss medications, and they're able to either slow or halt further hair loss, because you're literally saving thousands and thousands of grafts, and somebody who has minimal hair loss with good density, or even somebody who isn't really balding, would still be a good candidate. But you do need to realize that lowering a hairline through hair transplantation uses up a tremendous amount of grafts, and you also need to take into consideration for future hair loss, because your donor supply is limited, and we can only redistribute so many hairs. Now, you'd also have to worry about some potential effects such as infection, telogen effluvium, which is a temporary stress-induced hair loss due to physical stress or trauma from the surgery, damaged blood vessels, which can be a pretty big thing, since the flap removal can cause surrounding tissue and hair follicles to become damaged. It is, in my opinion, a more invasive type of procedure than an FUE, but if it is done properly, and assuming that you are a good candidate with laxity scalp and minimal hair loss, this can actually be a great alternative in treating hair loss and bringing down the hairline to whatever length that you want it to be. There were headlines made a few years ago when Donald Trump's ex-wife Ivana, in her sworn statement, said that her plastic surgeon had performed Trump's scalp reduction surgery in the 1980s, and claims that Trump's recovery process was a rather painful one due to the shrinking of the scalp and pain from the initial incision. And there's no doubt in my mind that she would be lying about such a detailed incident regarding this. In Trump's case, people are speculating that he has had the scalp reduction surgery done on his crown, since there are some photos that are surfacing online that show this vertical incision on the back of his scalp, which is very typical of a scalp reduction surgery. Ivana's statements further support this. Since we also know that Trump does use finasteride, we at least know that he is self-conscious and he is proactive about his hair. So more than likely, he did undergo a scalp reduction surgery, which was a popular form of treatment for hair loss back in the 1980s and 1990s. And he more than likely was on finasteride for several decades, since it was approved in the 1990s. And as a result, he has been able to maintain the current hair that he has right now. Anyway, just wanted to share with you guys this procedure called scalp reduction surgery and how you may or may not benefit from it for treating hair loss. If you have any experience with scalp reduction surgery, please do share in the comments below. If you have any questions, leave me some comments and I will get back to you. Thanks for watching, guys, and I will talk to you guys in the next video. Take care.